What's up, you guys? I'm sorry, because anyway. What's up? I'm back for another recap and review for P Valley. You already know. Down in the valley where the girls get naked. I was trying to give you a little bit of my shout outs to Rodney the voice, because that's how you be singing it. But yes, I'm here to give you my recap and review for this week's episode of P Valley season 2 episode 8, and it was another episode 8-8. Okay, it was another good episode, and it's entitled The Death Drop. And when I tell you last week when I saw that the upcoming episode was named The Death Drop, your girl was scared. And I don't feel so bad though, because it actually wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. And I'm like, whew, okay, so I can exhale. But nonetheless, it was still giving what, the girls wanted to see. The girls being me, of course. And so let's just get right into it. Of course, as always, I am Janice or Barb. Just do not call me Janice or Barbara. And let's go down to the Pynk. So, episode opens with Mercedes. I think last week I did the video, like kind of like I just did an overview of each person. Is that what I did last week? I think I did. But this week it's like impossible to do that same thing. So we're just going to go scene by scene. So bear with me, y'all. I'm going to try not to make it too long, but I love this show, and the episode was 1 hour and 2 minutes. So, just stick with me, and I'll make it worth your while. Anyway, the episode opens with Mercedes. She's practicing up on the pole, and she's starting to get real frustrated because, she's still not back where she wants to be with it. And she kind of, is like, just like really just dealing with that, her shoulder, her just everything. She kind of just feels, I think, her life just is in shambles right now. And to a degree, it kind of is. But Uncle Clifford comes out, and she's like telling her, it's all in your head, and, da-da-da-da-da. But Mercedes' response to this is, okay, yeah, all in my head, just like all your issues are in your hand. And I'm like, you can't really say much to that. But nonetheless, that's really it for that scene. Then we switch over to the Lovebirds, of course. Uncle Clifford and Lil Murda. She's giving him like a lineup or whatever, or writing in the back of his head with the Clippers, Murda. So I cannot wait to hear Katori Hall's breakdown of this episode, because now that we know that there's just so much symbolism and different themes and stuff, and different messages and symbols and all that good stuff throughout these episodes, you really, really, really have to pay attention. And I'm just like, okay, that meant that. I feel like I think I'm on to something with that one. I'm like, I feel like that was foreshadowing something that came later on in the episode. Katori, let me know if I'm right or wrong. Okay, y'all in the comments, let me know if you thought the same thing. I don't know. But as I said before, she's, lining him up back there or whatever. And he's on hold. They're trying to get through to the hospital, of course. He's on hold, and they've been on hold for a while, obviously. And once the operator actually gets on the line, she's like, no good news is good news. You just called me 45 minutes ago. Ain't no update with your grandmama. Like, bye. Don't call back no more. And I understand having a loved one going through something. You can't be there in person. You're not knowing what's going on. Like, of course. So I totally understood that. But I was like, also like, yeah, she's clearly tired of you calling. But I don't know if it was like jealousy or just like, as Uncle Clifford said before, she not about to be nobody's secret no more. Those days are over. And it's either you rocking with me for real, or you're not. And when Murda doesn't want to like say where he's going, she's like, well, shit, I ain't saying where I'm going either. Grabs her bags and is out the door. And I mean, we see where each of them goes after this, but I mean, I understand how they got to this point, but I'm like, okay. Anyway, back with Mercedes. She's out jogging with her dog, and she runs up on Maine looking good. Good. I'm not lying when I say he looked good. Okay, every muscle, every ripple, he looked good. You know, I can't even lie about that. But he's back home, got the ankle monitor on. They exchange a few words. I don't really remember everything that was said between the two of them, but he does invite her back to his, like, you know, welcome home little block party or whatever the next day. That was really it for them. Then we see Haley. She's down at the diner, Taffy's. I guess this is like the only diner in Chucalissa, but whatever. She's sitting there waiting for her order or whatever. And guess who walks in? Keyshawn. Keyshawn, who she's trying to, you know, rescue or whatever. She walks in. I'm sorry, y'all. My eyelash. She walks in and she's like, you know, I don't have much time. She slips her some papers or whatever. It's her and her kids' birth certificates. She's like, I need to have these back before, you know, Derek notices, of course. Obviously, we know by this point that Haley is helping her develop an escape plan. So she's like, you know, what's the plan? And she's like, okay, so you're going to tell him that you are going to be headlining back at the Pynk. And that means that, you know, you guys can divvy up whatever that you make out on the floor, but everything that you get at the dough is going to be going straight into your pockets. So Keisha's like, oh my God, like, I don't know how, you know, she doesn't know how this is going to work and everything, but she's like, you know what, I gotta go. And before she leaves, she's like, you know, I looked up Haley Colton and they said that she drowned in a flood down in Texas. And Miss Mystery herself turns around and is like, huh, funny, because, you know, yet Miss Haley Colton is sitting right here in the diner, in the flesh. So we don't know who is this girl? Who is this girl? Who is Lakeisha Savage? Who is Haley Colton? Who is Autumn Knight? Who is Jane Doe number 3034? Nobody knows at this point. So, you know, she goes off or whatever. Next, we see a commercial spilling all of Andre's tea. When I say all of Andre's tea, all of Andre's tea. Come to find out, Andre's father is not dead, like he said in his little campaign speech, you know, last episode or whatever. Not dead. And they being Wayne, you know how every time there's an election or something like that, you gotta like kind of like shit on your opponent and is this who you want for your mayor? Someone who did it? Like, that's kind of what Wayne is on right now. So we see, you know, Andre up there and he's looking like a liar. So of course we then catch up with him and Corbin, and Corbin kissed everybody out, first of all. And he's like, you know, you got me out here looking stupid. I'm paying, backing you, all this stuff. And I told you, if there's anything I should need to know, you need to let me know. So now you look like a liar. You don't look credible. Like, my money's riding on this. Like, ugh, like he's pissed, you know. And I mean, do I understand that? Yes, I definitely do. Is it still fuck Corbin this season? Yes, it also is. But and then do I also see why Andre kind of didn't want to take ownership for the fact that his father's still alive? Yeah, I could see that too, but you got to keep things 1,000 with people around these parts. I mean, Miss Woodbine is. And the only reason why I bring that up is because guess who they show next? Patrice. Prostitution, drug use, assault, and battery. Like, they got this whole scene where was that her and Mercedes fighting, or was that her and like a pimp or somebody? I don't know who it was, but they got receipts on receipts on receipts, child. And you know, Wayne is not, clearly he not letting up. And the one good thing about this though is for Patrice, that is that she's owned up to this. Like, she must have knew that her skeletons were gonna come out the closet. So she already let it be known to the public that, yes, I told y'all I was a hoe. And I used to suck a lot of pain. Vote for me for mayor. That's literally the type of energy she gave. And I was like, oh, I do not like the broad, but you can't hate, because she was keeping it real. So she don't have to worry about what Andre's got to be worrying about now. And it seems as though, he done sank to the bottom of the barrel. So we'll see how that pans out. And of course, Haley tries to call him and he declines the call. And then the next scene we see back with Keyshawn, she's doing some dishes, rinsing out some baby bottles, of course, and looking dreadful, of course. And who but Derek looking like, I don't even know what he looked like at this point. He also looks equally as pitiful, but I'm just like, oh my God. So he comes up, he's like, what, a Louboutin box, a Christian Louboutin box. He's like, try him on. So he proceeds to try to fit her foot into this shoe, 7.5. She don't wear 7.5 no more. She don't, she lets him know, yeah, Derek, I used to be that size, but after 2 kids, my feet done spread a little bit. Idiot. And he proceeds to go, like throwing this whole, like, just, I can never do anything right now. Like, okay, drama queen. You have no sympathy from us. At this point, if you don't know this, Derek, you ain't got no sympathy from us. So you can save all that. Save the drama for your mama. Oh, she's racist. Anyway. And I also peeped that she has a necklace. Maybe she even had it on, I don't know. But she has the necklace back on that Diamond gave her. I was like, oh, okay, I see that. And he's all, drops his knees and, clutching her womb, talking about some, I'll do anything. Please don't give up on me. Da, 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 da. And she's just not moved by it. And he's like, do you want to, you want me to set your room back up for your OnlyFans, or do you want to go back on tour or whatever? And she's like, no. He's like, you want to go back to the Pynk, don't you? And she's like, yeah, he's like, oh, that place is just so, And she's like, it's the only place that I feel free. And he's like, okay, fine. And she's like, and the whole time, as soon as she was like declining on all this stuff, I was like, she's working her magic again. Like I will tell you guys, she definitely does know how to work him over when it needs to be done. So I will give her that, but she got to expedite this escape plan. We on episode 8, and I need her to be up out of there by the end of this season. So that was really it, for that scene. And then, so now we have a showdown between the brothers a little bit. Corbin and Wayne, they go back and forth because Corbin's like, like, really? Like, did you really have to do all that? And, Wayne is going to play whatever card he can. Obviously, it's an election. He's going to go as low as he needs to. So, Corbin, you're going to have to come back 10 times better to he always feels like, the runt of the litter when it comes to his, brothers. So, I don't know. It's going to be what's going to be. Then we flash over to a beauty salon. And it's, little ritzy looking beauty salon or whatever. And Miss Georgie or whatever her name is, she is getting her hair done. Well, she got the Coca-Cola cans up there. She get a little volume, honey. She said, oh no, these grays, yeah, they gonna be curled and shined up, and I'm just gonna keep sporting them because I don't give a fuck. And I was like, okay, whatever. But she's in there. But what pissed me off from the jump is when old hairdresser lady wanted to talk about because Haley walks in. I'm calling her Haley this episode. Autumn Haley, whatever. She walks in and with her Louboutin, with her red bottoms and her Birkin. It's come through stepping. And Miss Beautician lady thought it was okay to be like, oh no, Shanae, Shanae's is down the street. I think you in the wrong building. And she's like, no. I'm actually in the right place at the right time. Hello, Miss Georgie, whatever your name is. And so they quickly get into business, I should say. And Autumn, you know, she set on getting her 10 million. And Georgie, she not moved. And she tells the beautician and the shampoo girl to, you know, give her a few minutes. They step out. And she got a little sense of racism underneath too, if you ask me. But basically her whole thing is, you know, looks are gonna fade, girl, just like this offer of $5 million is gonna fade if you don't offer it, if you don't, you know, take me up on my offer right now. Because at the end of the day, the people got the end vote, and as long as, you know, they stay in, you know, our pocket, you know, you're the one that's gonna lose in the end, so you might want to take me up on this offer. And Haley was just like, I'm good, bye, Georgie. So she's sticking around hard for that $10 million. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. She was like, catch me down at the polls. Anyway, then we go over to the funeral home. And Murda's there dropping off some clothes for Teak and, you know, viewing the body and stuff. Of course, Wodie's there. He did him up real nice. I will say they did him up really, really, really nice. And Murda tells him, you know, you can't be doing folks like that, in reference to the whole Rome thing. And Wodie's still sticking hard to, you know, Rome had it coming. It was, you know, it had to be him. It wasn't gonna be nobody else. It wasn't gonna be you. Like, it had to be him. And, you know, he was like, you can't be playing God. He was like, we can all play God. I think I wrote it down. He was like, we all God and we all the devil too. And I was like, a word, okay. So then, of course, Wodie brings up the tape and he's like, you know, why didn't you tell me, you know, about this or whatever? And, you know, we find out that Murda, you know, he used to perform sexual acts at the age of 15 to keep a roof over him and his mother's head and food in their bellies. And, you know, that's kind of where certain things started. And you know, he's still trying to come to terms with everything. And he's just like, you know, how do we know that Rome didn't already send out the video? And the answer is, we don't know. I really hope that's not the case. You know, I'm hoping, you know, yeah, he didn't send it to like Pico or anybody and stuff like that, because we know that Rome hasn't seen it for Murda since last season. So I feel like that's not the end of that whole thing. I don't think that's going to be the last time we hear about that. So I don't know, y'all. But moving right along, we go down to the Pynk, and all hands are on deck pretty much. We see Big Bone and Diamond in the corner kissing or whatever. I'm like, okay. I don't know. And I'm only making that face because, I mean, yeah, they do that in real life, right? But I'm only making that face because I still don't trust her, and I want her to get her a pause off of Diamond, because you don't need to be tainting him, okay? But Autumn, you know, she's sitting there and she asks, Uncle Clifford is hype, you know, that she's got her bottom bitch back. But that bubble is burst when Autumn asks Mercedes to do a little freestyle. And we know, you know, Mercedes should not even be up there even a little bit. Like, she should not even be even trying to be up there in those pleasers, because we know she's not healed back all the way. She's still going through whatever. So when I tell you, I was just literally like, the way she was moving, I was like, this can't be real. This can't be real. So she was up there looking like a chicken with a broken wing, like zero grace. I was like, what the okay, Mercedes, okay. And enough got to be enough. She couldn't get up there and get her moves right to save her life. And it was like awkward to watch, okay? It was, at that point, it was awkward to watch. So Uncle Clifford's like, cut, like, And of course, Ailey's like, yeah, so I got a new headliner in mind, because clearly you not up to par, so sorry. And guess who the new headliner is, of course. Keyshawn. Keyshawn walks in all glitzy and glittery, and she looked like the disco ball that just entered the room. And when I say everybody's heads turned, including Diamond, I was waiting for a, oh, hell no. You know, like you always hear somebody in the back, oh, hell no. That's what I was waiting for. But, and shout outs to Roulette and Whisper this episode, especially Roulette. Like, she was coming through every which way, like saying some funny off the wall shit. But, you know, Keyshawn's like, you know, hey everybody. And before we know it, they go into the back, and of course Roulette and Whisper are like literally like fangirling, like girl crushing over Keyshawn. You know, they're like, yeah, you know, we wear your lashes, and like if it wasn't for you, we would not know how to do a spatchcock. Okay, like you my girl for real. And she's all like, oh, okay, you know how she talks or whatever. But it's still kind of awkward. And then of course Mercedes comes in, and they basically exchange some words that kind of give us the vibe that on the outside, Mercedes, I feel like Mercedes is going to wind up continuing to give Keyshawn shit. But at the end of the day, since that was kind of like a little sis to her, she's low-key kind of excited to see her back, of course. And it's probably like that familiarity piece as well, you know, especially because things are just like falling down around her continuously, and she don't really have nobody in her corner up in there, probably. So maybe that is like a good thing now that your familiar face is, you know, around, of course. So Keyshawn was like, you know, is my locker still free? And she was like, really, bitch? But yeah, it's free. And they basically see each other. They both kind of know that, yeah, this is like all they have right now. This is kind of where life has led them to be, unfortunately. So we see each other. That's what I was getting right then and there. And so meanwhile, the whole time outside on the floor, Uncle Clifford and Haley are still going back and forth, going back and forth, going back and forth. She was trying to make it seem all like, she being Haley was trying to make it seem like she was, oh no, like doing all this so Uncle Clifford can get the money needed for Miss Ernestine and everything and stuff like that. And like, do not bring up grandmother. Do not bring up grandmother. The fuck. So they're going back and forth, and it leads Uncle Clifford to not only gather all her stuff, but she was out. She was out, and I felt really bad. I really did, because she went out to her car and, you know, tries to call back the hospital, and, you know, in a fit of distress. And of course, you know, as tears are rolling down her eyes, she checks in the rear view, and her mother is in the back seat, her guardian angel. And she's like, you know, who else do I need to beat up right now? And, you know, sprinkle some words of wisdom that kind of allow Uncle Clifford to keep rolling throughout the day, at least. And I'm really liking the spirituality and the whole life and afterlife. Like, I'm liking that whole thing throughout this season, I will say that. But in the next scene, we get all the homies paying their respects to Big Teak down at the funeral. Murder looked really good, I will say, all in his all black, very dapper in there, okay? And he slips him a, you know, they got him dripped in gold chains and everything. And Murder slips him, you know, some rhymes, of course. It's like, in case, you know, you need him down there and down in the hole and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I love that. I really do. You know how everybody always like kind of puts certain things in people's casts sometimes or whatever. And I thought that was very befitting, obviously, knowing their bond and stuff like that. So afterward, a few of the homies they show Murder a video where basically Pico is capping up there, claiming to have offed Teak, and we all know, and Murder clearly knows, and everybody else clearly knows that that's not the case. And you know, he be trying to act all hard, and we could clearly see instantly Murder's whole face changes, and I'm like, okay, at this point I know it's gonna be some shit. This isn't gonna be the end that we see of that, because that's not just something they're just gonna take on the chin like that. So he daps him up, and he's off, and we go back to the Pynk, and over at the Pynk, Sadie's and Keyshawn are kind of like practicing, and whilst, you know, Roulette is still pitching the whole old dude, what was his name, Terrence, how he was trying to, you know, whisper. She was still kind of pitching this to her, and this is when I was kind of like confused. Like, one, I already thought it had happened for some weird reason, but I'm just kind of like, I'm not seeing the motive behind Roulette, and she's so hard to read, obviously. I'm not seeing the motive as to why she wanted that to happen exactly, because it wasn't like she was getting anything out of it. She already realized that he was a colorist, so I was kind of confused by that. But meanwhile, on the stage, like, again, Mercedes, like, it was when she went, like for me, it was like, at that point, when I tell you I lost it, like, girl, and I want to hear Randy Evans talk about that moment, because this whole episode, you know, she is a trained dancer, like, she could dance for real, so it was just so funny to see that, like, so freaking funny, y'all. But at this exact moment, she also gets a call from Terica, and she's like, hold on, little mama, like, I'm gonna be right there, like, and she grabs her stuff and she goes off. She was off in such a rush because Shell now knows that about the abortion. And she's over at Mercedes' house going off, you know, how are you going to do that without a guardian? Like, you know, I know in your family, you guys get rid of babies, but in mine, like, we take another approach. But the whole time she's, you know, of course, coming for Mercedes and her being a stripper, because that's, you know, that's all she ever really can, you know, use against her. You're a stripper, you're a hoe, like that's all she can ever really say. But there's more to be said about Shell, and the fact that Terica came to me, or to Mercedes, and not you, is much more telling, and that's what we need to focus on. The fact that you're too in a drunken stupor half the time, that the girl is not even getting the proper mothering that you know, preach so highly of over there. That's the real conversation. And she doesn't want to look in the mirror and own that. So they go back and forth for a second. Terica's, you know, visibly upset sitting there. And she's like, mama. And they're both like, huh? And she's like, oh, she's not talking to you. And you're like, bitch, you be the one to talk right now. Look at you. Coming over here, driving over here drunk again. So Terica, you know, she's like, you know, I'm gonna drive her home or whatever. And she's like, you know, because you being Mercedes, you taught me how to drive. And I was just like, at first I was kind of, but I get it. To be on a 14-year-old girl, this is a lot for real. So I'm not even going to jump on Terica at all about anything. I do want to see her in the end, though, come and stay with Mercedes full time. I really do. So then, you know, she's just trying to keep the peace, is what I feel like. But we get back with Uncle Clifford, and she rolls up on Corbin at work or whatever, out in the field or whatever. And I guess he's still pissed at Andre, of course. And not the house ninja asking me to be his field ninja. I was like, when I say Uncle Clifford comes through with the one-liners, with the two-line, with a word every time, she will not disappoint, honey. I'm telling you. So I'm pretty much thinking at this point they're like trying to join forces in a way, or like at least Uncle Clifford is trying to get into the ears of the people that she feels as though she needs to be in their ears, obviously, for the Pynk sake. That's kind of what that conversation kind of got me, you know, that they both have an ultimate enemy that's greater than the both of them. So why don't we join forces to take down the more greater ultimate enemy? Gotta make sense, right? But catching back up with Roulette and Whisper, they're in a motel room, and which means that Whisper, you know, is down to get her box 8, like a pack of Oreos. So they're in the room, they're getting ready, they're, you know, taking hits of coke and all of that. And when old boy walks in, he's thinking it's about to be some double trouble stuff. And Roulette quickly tells him, no, it's not going to be none of that. I'm just here to make sure nothing goes down that's not supposed to go down. And I'm going to be in the bathroom. And she kind of acts like she doesn't know him. And I don't know if she was acting like she really just didn't know him. Or she was like, I don't know you like that. You know, like, I don't know you from a can of paint, ultimately. Like, I don't know what you're capable of. Like, we might be cool in the club, but... So I don't really know. But meanwhile, at Andre's house, he's looking at the $10,000 check that Haley left him after she, you know, last week or whatever. And knock, knock, knock. Who but Haley comes knocking with moonshine in tow. And they actually, you know, she comes in. They actually kind of have a little bit more in common than him and Brittany had. But they both come from a lack of parents, clearly. His mom was addicted to drugs. Dad's in jail for murder, in prison for murder. And then she doesn't even know her parents at all. She was, you know, a foster kid, basically. And she said, you know, when she turned 18, like, that was her goal, to find out who her parents were and all that. And she also, you know, reassures him of who he is, where you know, how far he's come, what he can accomplish and all that. And I'm just like, I feel like she's just trying to butter him up to use as her own personal puppet, ultimately. Like, you guys can't tell me I'm wrong. I'm sorry. She even refers to herself as his mistress before trying to, I guess, further seduce him by calling Brazil and extra, or whoever the fuck. And she tells him to meet her. So I'm sure she's gonna put that autumn night on him and use him for something else. I don't know. I'm like, Andre, just focus. It's just like one of those, like, just focus on yourself. Just focus on yourself. Just focus on your campaign, because you just be getting got left and right. But anyway, back at the motel, Roulette's in the bathroom playing Candy Crush or whatever, and Whisper's out there moaning. It was really annoying moaning. And she, you know, because she's getting munched on or whatever. And when they're done, this motherfucker thought it was okay to short her $200 or whatever. And proceeds to say, like, you didn't even moan right. Like, nah, like, he's on some fuck shit, clearly. And she was like, yeah, basically, I would have been moaning right if you knew what the fuck you were doing. I bet you never made nobody orgasm, like, with that weak-ass tongue, basically, is what I gathered. And, you know, that bruised his ego, of course. So he's like, puts her in a freaking chokehold. And we hear a click. And he has a revolver to the back of his head. Roulette's revolver. And we clearly see in this scene how she got her name, Roulette, because she proceeds to play a game of Russian roulette with him. And I wasn't really mad at it. It was kind of funny, actually. It's probably sick. It's probably sick that I said that, but it was funny. This is fictional, clearly. And she goes click to her head, like, don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with me. Let's play a game, but don't fuck with me. Let her go. And then she puts it to his head again, and click, click, and it's like, stop, chill, da da da. And she tells Whisper to take his pants off. And then she tells him to get on his knees. And at this point, Whisper kind of was getting in on the game too. And she puts that gun right in his mouth. And before we know it, he's moaning like a little bitch. And they steal his clothes and his car, and they fucking get up on out of there, and with just giggling. And I was kind of like, I like seeing them two together. I'm not gonna lie, it's funny. It's funny. But moving right along, then we see Pico, and at this point, I'm like, okay, yeah, something's definitely gonna go down. Because I'm like, well, one, why would we be seeing him? We don't even be seeing him like that. Like, he's not a main character. He's leaving a corner store or whatever. He daps up some dudes, and then he starts, like, walking through, like, kind of a secluded or, like, a abandoned, like, buildings or whatever. His daughter calls him. He stops and talks to her for a second. He's like, I'll see you, da da da. And at this point, we see someone standing in the background, and he kind of comes around, and this is when I was like, okay, murder went from murder to little murder to the little homicide. Because he pops out and Pico's like, I don't want no trouble. Like, I just said that because, talk about the video, I just said that because of how he, when he beat me the fuck up, he was getting clowned, and he had to go and try to, chest up, of course, which, wrong road in this case, because when I say murder said, yeah, too bad, he tells him what really happened. And, he's like, what about my son or whatever? He's like, oh, yeah, Tyson, I'll let him know. You said, I'll let him know. Before he literally dumps hella bullets into him. When I said, like, I was like, whoa. And he proceeds to go off. And this is kind of one of the points, too, where I was like, this doesn't really seem realistic, because, like, the dude started, like, running up to see what went down. And I'm like, but no one's seen murder walking off, though. Like, that didn't really make sense. That didn't really make sense, Katoria. I will say that. Maybe she'll explain it in her, analysis or whatever. So then we see Mercedes. She pulls up on Main, and the whole hood is out there. And before they can even really exchange words for real, somebody comes up and is like, hey, yo, like Pico, da da da. And he's like, oh, what the? And he tries to run off too. Ankle monitor, bro. And she's like, whoa, slowly roll. Like, let them go. Someone who ain't got a ankle monitor, you only been out for like 5 seconds. Like, slowly roll. So they stay back, and they kind of go inside, and she proceeds to tell him about murder night and everything. And I was like, okay. And at first she's like, did the nightmares ever stop? And he says, no, but I want to be there for you, whatever, and tries to, get a little thigh touch or whatever. And I'm just like, see, she probably gets that a lot, and it probably really does suck to like always be seen as like a sex object, or only being like seen as like for your looks and stuff like that. And she lets him know like she's not looking for that, and he's like, well, I hope you find what you're looking for. And then he leaves or whatever. So I'm just like, whatever. A waste of sexiness, if you ask me. But then we see Uncle Clifford down visiting her mother's grave, and she's really going through it, as we know. She's really, really, really going through it at this time. And she admits that she's failing. She's missing her, but at the same time, this is why she needs to make sure, Ernestine don't go nowhere. And I don't know, man. That's really a whole, I don't really know what to say about that. But I don't know. Meanwhile, Patrice is preaching for coins on Zoom. And she was getting some whatever, and then somebody comes through and drops 10K, and it's basically like cash me outside. So she goes outside, and it's Corbin. And this is when I'm like, okay, I see what's happening here. And she's basically trying to bribe her to fall out of the race, out of the running. And he's like, gives her another stack, and it's like, yeah, there's much more where that's coming from. So I don't know. You think she's gonna buy it? I mean, she is a snaky, conniving ass broad, so who knows? She might do it, but nah, she's probably just gonna take the money and still do some snaky shit like what she did to Mercedes. She's a cake. I want my cake and eat it too ass bitch. And I want to say the second to the last scene we got was with Roulette. She drops off old dude's car down at the chop shop, Duffy's chop shop or whatever. And she's like, can you bust this down for me? And they is kissing. And I was kind of like, okay, now that is one hetero couple in this show that I actually wouldn't mind seeing. Like, I'm done with Andre and Autumn. Like I'm just I'm like, yeah, we need some other Anyway, so I was kind of like, okay. And he was like, you know, where can I find you? Drop this off or whatever. And she's like, you know where to find me, down in the valley, shawty. And she goes out and she looks in the gun, and of course there's just one in the wheel, and you know, she's a wild girl. Is all I'm gonna say. And the final scene, we see Murda. He's in the studio and he's about to spit, but we do, or at least I did, I noticed the blood on his hands and his ring. So I'm like, I feel like that again. I can't wait to hear what Katori says about that. That means something. I don't know what, but it means something. So I guess we'll find out. But y'all, that was really it for this episode. I enjoyed it. I enjoy it every week. I can't even lie. And I think we only have like 2 more episodes though, so that really pisses me off. It makes me sad. There's just so much I need to know. But y'all, let me know what you guys think of my video. Don't forget to comment, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, share, hit that notifications bell, all that. I want to talk about it in the comments, so don't you forget. And I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.